Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me on this live podcast on a eye-opening subject, I'm sure today, causes of weight gain you may not know about. Now, of course, everyone has the impression, that the main way, of course, to lose weight is to cut your food intake down and go to the gym and exercise. Well, sometimes it's just not that simple. You should really step back, first of all, and look at the reason you're gaining weight. And that's unless you determine that, which we're going to cover today, many different causes of gaining weight, then all of your efforts of cutting your diet and even going to the gym may be fruitless unless you address these fundamental causes first. Now, being in practice decades, I've treated thousands of people for weight loss, often a couple a day for many years. And most of the people who come to me have a kind of a stubborn weight loss they couldn't get rid of by going to the gym and exercising and reducing their diet. Because I suppose if it would have worked, they may never have contacted me. So, admittedly, I do get the tough cases of stubborn weight loss where people have already made an effort to reduce down their calories or sometimes their carbs or do other extreme diets and then go to the gym or start exercising or start running. Most of them have tried this to some degree and often for a year, sometimes decades. And then they come to me and they're very shocked that I can get the weight to start coming down quite quickly when they couldn't. Now, of course, I have the arsenal of herbs at my advantage, which they didn't have. But more importantly, and I have weight loss formulas, appetite control teas, weight loss teas. So I have a whole arsenal of let's just say, weapons your average person wouldn't have available for this struggle, which makes it much easier to lose weight. It's easier probably to take a spoon of herbs after every meal than go to the gym, for example. And so the herbs definitely are a big factor. But maybe more important is my early diagnosis of their causes. And this is where there can be multiple causes that people have completely ignored. And that's why their weight loss efforts have been fruitless. And in fact, unless I remove these causes, even the herbs that I provide may not produce the results. Once these causes are removed, then you can start to lose weight without even the herbs or the exercise or a radical change in diet. So let's go through these, and we're going to cover the ones that most people don't think of initially when they think of weight loss, because everybody, like I mentioned, when they think of weight loss, they think of starving themselves, skipping meals, having extreme diet, and going to the gym. So, and like I mentioned, that can be fruitless. So the first one that I see in my practice of treating thousands of people trying to lose weight, stubborn weight. Of course, there's many types of excess weight gain. There's just belly fat. There's kind of just in the front. There's lower abdominal fat. There's the kind of the tire around the whole body. And then there's kind of obesity where there's fat everywhere under the chin, under the arm. So there's different types of um, overweight conditions, which is a factor as well. And there's different kinds of people. But we're just going to go over these common causes of weight gain that most people just aren't really aware of, which you really should resolve first. You should always remove the cause of your health condition before you treat it. Remove the cause. This is one reason I'm very successful. Where others aren't is because I focus my efforts on the diagnosis and identifying the cause and then removing all the causes, and then the treatments work. So, first common cause of weight gain that I see is snacking on nuts. Nuts, granola bars, protein powders, smoothies with protein powders, and this type of snacking, particularly the nuts and granola and protein bar. How can you lose weight if you're snacking all the time or grazing? Now, of course, we have many fad diets now, like the keto diet. But in the past, we had other fad diets. In my long life of studying uh, natural health care. I've seen dozens of fad diets come and go. But at one time, there was this multiple meal diet, like have 5 or 6 meals throughout the day. Well, you don't hear about that anymore because it didn't work. And that's because the human body, particularly to lose weight, needs big gaps between these meals, which just makes sense. We're not going to talk about glucose levels and the mitochondria and your metabolism. I mean, it's just practical knowledge. If you want to lose weight, you can't keep eating all day. You have to burn up what you've consumed plus a little extra every day. So you get the calories from the food that you ate, the fat, and then you got to consume that, use that up in your activities plus a little more. So you want to go 4 or 5 hours between meals and preferably just 2 meals a day, and big gaps between them, and no snacking on nuts. You just destroy all of your weight loss, efforts, whether they're at the gym or you're following some radical diet, just eating, meat and oil and fatty foods, um, or you're whatever you're doing, if you're snacking on nuts, no matter how healthy you think they are, they're, that's gonna you're never gonna gain weight. In fact, very many thin women gained weight just from snacking on nuts who realized this, that they were thin, they never gained weight their whole life, they were careful with their diet, but once they started snacking on nuts, within a year or 2, they had a belly. So you can have snacks between meals, but they would be fruit. And for most cases, that would be fruit that is not too sweet, like not a banana. A banana is a weight gaining fruit. An apple is a better choice. Okay, the next common, let's say, mistake or cause of weight gain that people don't really think about is too much protein. Protein is building every cell in our body. I mean, if you break a bone, you need protein to rebuild it. I mean, if you're a growing child, you need protein to grow. If you're a pregnant woman, you need protein to grow the fetus. And you need protein to grow. But if you're already an adult and you're already overweight and you've grown enough, the last thing you want to be doing is consuming a lot of protein. Now, I know we have the fad diets out there now, just consuming protein, like the keto, the paleo, the carnivore diet. But, a lot of times these people are like trying to build muscle and they're in a gym and they're not really focused on weight loss. They're not focused on health, I should say. They're focused on looking good. And so these people on these diets, I get a steady stream of people on these high fat, high protein diets, keto, for example, with gallbladder problems, fatty liver problems, and I get a lot now with gout. And I've had dozens who had kidney failure after following this diet. And that, of course, is because the high protein creates the waste uric acid. Uric acid is very inflammatory and it overwhelms. Oh, and it can harm the kidneys over time too. High protein diet's very tough on the kidneys. That's why we see bodybuilders often dying of kidney failure because they're just having all this protein constantly, constantly, constantly. So they do build muscles, but unless you're going to be going to the gym 4 or 5 hours a day and want to be a bodybuilder, don't be eating a lot of animal protein. I'm not Every person is different, but if you're overweight, particularly if you're obese or over 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, you should be having almost no animal protein at all. You use what most of the world, 70% of the world population gets their protein from, and that is legumes, beans, and lentils. And that is what Ayurveda advocates for weight loss, particularly for the kapha type. Not necessarily for the woman who's just not happy with a little weight on the back of her thighs, or a woman has a little, or a man or woman has a little belly. And we're not talking, you would be totally necessary to even change your diet because there's so many other causes for that little extra weight or a little belly. So I'm not saying everybody who wants to lose a few pounds should stop eating all animal protein, but if you're obese, definitely. And the next cause, and you should try to get rid of these other causes as well, is liver issues. Even when I get stubborn cases of weight loss, I'm so confident now of removing these causes and changing people's diet, getting them off their snacking, get them off the meat, have them do 2 meals a day, and give them the herbs that 95% of all the patients start losing 7 to 10 pounds a month. But when they don't, first thing I do is give them herbs for the liver on the next appointment. And of course, if we have your lab work and we can see the bilirubin's high, AST's high, ALT's high, or even just cholesterol numbers are very high, then I always will treat the liver. If we have an overweight person and there's even just high cholesterol or other signs of poor liver function, poor bile function, like inability to digest fat, nausea, from fatty or oily foods, fatty stools, and other conditions. Of course, if there were gallbladder pain, that would qualify. Any liver or gallbladder problem can affect your ability to produce the bile, to emulsify the fat into fatty acids, absorb it into the system. So, treating your liver is you can't really lose if you're trying to lose weight. And you also take liver herbs as well, which is really the only effective way to treat your liver is with herbal remedies. There's many bitter herbs for different types of liver conditions. Of course, people ask, "What do I take for my liver?" on some text message. I said, "I don't know. I have herbs for fatty liver. I have herbs for inflamed liver. I have herbs for cirrhosis of the liver. I have herbs for like somebody who's very sensitive, or a child, or a sensitive person where I want a very gentle formula. And I have very strong formulas for overweight people. So there's different liver formulas for different liver conditions. But to lose weight, a lot of times I'm providing liver herbs. Now, the weight loss formulas themselves that I provide all have some liver herbs in there as well. So sometimes I don't even have to add it. It's one of the secrets of these weight loss formulas, Ayurvedic weight loss formulas. There's liver herbs in there, and also herbs for reducing the appetite, maintaining blood sugar levels, and improving liver function. That's how they work. Is there one of the ways these formulas work is by stimulating liver function and bile. The next cause of weight gain, which really should be addressed before anything else, before you start, taking a pill for your weight loss, and don't get me started on that, which I probably will in a minute. But let's talk about removing the causes as a more intelligent approach over taking a pill, or even just going to the gym and and having your butt kicked by a trainer. Look at the causes. So high blood sugar. If you have high blood sugar, high glucose levels, high A1C, you should really focus on that. In fact, when I have patients and they have high blood sugar numbers, and they're overweight, I give them mostly the herbs for the blood sugar on the first appointment. I may still give them the formula as well, but I'm really focused more on the blood sugar. I'll be more strict with the with the diet to get the blood sugar down, more strict with the snacking, more strict with the type of fruits that they have, to make sure everything is low glycemic, and there's plenty of oil in the diet to keep the blood sugar down. And I'll focus on that, because if I can get the blood sugar down in a month, then great. Then the next month I can move the focus over to pure weight loss. And sometimes people come to me for weight loss because of my reputation of being so successful in stubborn cases, and they're surprised that I don't load them up with the weight loss herbs in the beginning, but I give them the blood sugar herbs in the beginning, because that's the cause, just like it can be of high blood pressure, this high blood sugar numbers in our system. And of course, another cause is there's other little causes we'll cover as well that people don't think about. And that's just constipation. A lot of people, I'm doing appointments on Zoom. I don't get to see them face to face like I used to do in clinic, but unless they stand up, which I do like to have them stand up so I can see them better. But a lot of times I'm looking at a woman with a thin face, thin fingers, thin neck, and she's complaining about weight. So I tell her, "Where is this weight?" And she says, "It's in my belly." So then I ask, "Okay, It's not the pregnant round belly, it's like the lower front part of the abdominal area, like down there around the belly button and not going around the side, but coming out in the front, but around the belly button. And they always say, yes. Now, of course, I'm looking at their form, so I know a lot of information about them. So it's kind of an educated guess, but that's usually constipation. And of course, many people have many misunderstandings about constipation and healthy bowels. For example, many people had one bowel movement a day and didn't understand why they got colon cancer, but that's all it takes. I mean, it's the cause of colon cancer is 20, 40 years of even minor constipation, like once a day. But people going once a day will end up skipping days. And people who are skipping whole days and 4 or 5 days, they're only going to have health problems much sooner. But a lot of women have this belly in the front. They'll go to the gym, they'll start starving themselves, they'll do everything. And once you give them the colon herbs and they start having 3 bowel movements a day and they're just moving right first thing in the morning, and then they're going again in the afternoon a couple times, that whole belly's just gone. So sometimes I don't even give these women, I won't give these women weight loss herbs because they're not overweight, they're constipated. And often that's coming from the snacking on the nuts. Like they're snacking on the nuts, which is constipated and kind of creates a belly fat. And then also they are constipated. So, don't just start knocking yourself out at a gym, starving yourself when your bowels are not even moving. And we get people, it's kind of the old school and old fad, now we have new fads, which I've mentioned a few times there today. But old fad was the low fat diet. Now, of course, we're into the high fat diet, high protein diets. But it's kind of human nature. We move from extreme to extreme. Like we move from a vegan diet now over to the carnivore diet where we don't bother with the fruits and we don't bother with and instead of no animal protein, we're doing only animal protein. This is human nature, because they find out one thing didn't work, so they go the other direction. When in fact, you need to really individualize your treatments, and you have to have more balance in your diet, more balance in your food, and you should never just leave off whole food groups, which is what everybody likes to do. Okay, these extreme diets of high fat and high protein, they don't want to do any fruit anymore, and then that contributes to their constipation because fruit is very cleansing and good laxative. So you don't want, and pretty soon I predict there'll be a no vegetable diet because we've already eliminated every other food group. Of course, the vegans, the vegetarians said the meat's bad, which, I don't need a lot of meat. So there's a little truth in there. And then the vegans said that the dairy is bad. Well, I don't go for that at all. All vegetarians around the world had dairy. Only the vegans didn't. So but they eliminated the all animal protein, even honey to that extreme, which is such a potent food. A true superfood is honey, and many vegans won't touch it. But that's another story. Don't want to offend the vegans out there. Now you have to find balance. You don't want to live out a whole food group. And now then they lift out grains. That was the next bad boy to go. So no more grains at all. I mean, it was good to get rid of the white bread, but I think we just kept going too far and got rid of all the grains. Well, when it comes to weight loss, there are grains you can have like buckwheat and millet, amaranth, and even quinoa you could eat with your beans, and you're not going to gain weight from it. So, that came from the wheat. Wheat is weight gaining, but there are other grains out there that are not weight gaining. Of course, rice is kind of also on the weight gaining side, and particularly if it's white rice, it will be constipating, weight gaining, and jack up your blood sugar. So I see a lot of Hispanic, Indian, even Asian trying to lose weight, and they're eating white rice every day. So it's just like us eating white bread. It's an old bad habit that it tastes better and sweeter. And if you're eating white bread for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it wouldn't really, you would gain weight just on that white bread. But unfortunately, a lot of Asians and even South Americans are eating white rice every single day, while trying to lose weight. Not a good idea. So you don't want to do low fat. That's what I was saying earlier. Now people do high low fat. And they used to do low fat, high carbs. Now they're doing high fat, high protein, no carbs. And again, balance and individualization for the individual is what's important, not extreme, diets based on theories. So other causes of weight gain you may not think about is napping. Napping in the day is a weight gainer. In fact, when we have a child who's thin and depleted and underweight, we should tell the parent to feed him and then let him take a nap because we don't want to burn up all those calories. Let him take a nice little nap and put some weight on him. But I know people that nap in the day and gain weight, so you want to stay active. And of course, even not sleeping well will contribute to weight gain. Stress will contribute to weight gain. And another big cause of weight gain, which people never really think about, is poor digestion. And what's the sign of poor digestion? Most people don't know. Of course, gas, bloating, constipation, acid reflux. These would be the obvious ones. Even acidity is a type of digestive problem. But the one people don't realize that really leads to the weight gain is no appetite, lack of appetite. That's right. Lack of appetite. In Ayurveda, they have special terms for the different states of digestion. So in Ayurveda, it's called Manda Agni. Agni means your digestive fire, which should be strong. If you want to lose weight, you have to have good Agni, good digestive fire. And Manda means dull. So you have a dull or lacking of digestive fire. And this is very evident by the person who is not hungry till 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And most of my weight, a lot of my clients who are trying to lose weight always say, I'm not eating much, but I'm still gaining weight. And I say, well, when do you get hungry? Oh, like 3 o'clock. And then, of course, when they do get hungry at 3 o'clock, when the Agni or digestive fire comes on, they may be eating 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and now they're not working or active anymore unless they exercise in the evening. But that's why they're gaining weight because this digestive fire is so low that they're not really breaking their food down and digesting it. It's kind of like cooking in an oven and the temperature is not very hot and the bread comes out sticky and gooey. And that's what happens when your digestion's weak. So, and it's coming often from a little snacking or cold foods or eating late at night or eating too much animal protein, things that are, you know, dampening their digestive fire and ultimately their appetite. So then I tell them to don't eat until you're hungry. Don't snack. Have a gap between your meals. Don't eat too late. Eat these beans and quinoa, for example. No more hamburgers and eggs for dinner and protein shakes, which is what people do. All this excess protein. Um, and then they come, and of course, I'm giving them the herbs and often for the liver, for the digestion. And they come back in a month and I ask them, are you hungry? And she said, yeah, well, just started having 3 bowel movements a day, got me hungry. Stopping the snacking made me more hungry. Only having 2 meals a day made me more hungry. And before I wasn't hungry till 3 o'clock. Now I'm hungry by 10 or 11. And I go, oh, that's good. It's a good sign. You're hungry by 10 or 11. So they have their first meal at 10 or 11 when they're hungry. You should always listen to your body, not the internet. And then they have another meal at maybe 4 or 5. And then the interesting point that they always seem to notice is that they're physically eating more volume of food in the diet that I give them than they were before. Because before they weren't hungry, so they didn't really kind of eat much. And they were probably grazing and snacking a lot, so it's hard to judge how much you're eating. But many people say, I'm actually eating more food now than I was before, but I'm losing weight. I lost 8 pounds this month, and I literally ate more food than I was eating in the past. That's because the digestion's good now. When the digestion's good, the metabolism's good, the digestion of the food is good, and it doesn't, contribute to weight gain. And of course, we changed the food from all the meat, the eggs, and the protein powder. Now you're just filling up on beans and quinoa. and vegetables and eating apples in between. So you're eating more food by volume, you're shopping and buying more, but you're losing weight. Very, very common. Low appetite, weight gain. High appetite, weight loss. And many people know when I was young, I could just eat anything. I could eat all day long and never gain weight. Well, that was your metabolism was good. You were younger, you were more active, and you weren't sitting at the desk all day long. And you had that fire. You had this digestive fire, so you could eat. A lot of people remember when even 20s, 30s, they were eating 3 or 4 meals a day, never worried about weight loss or weight gain, I should say. And then later in life, when this metabolism crashes, the appetite crashes, the digestive system crashes. Now they're not even eating much and going to the gym and still gaining weight, or at least not losing any weight at all, even though they restricted their diet tremendously. And they're going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, and really, kicking butt, and they're just barely losing weight. As long as that appetite is low, can't you can't digest your food, you will gain weight. It's your digestive fire. Always, this is not understood by people because they think no appetite should equate with less eating. But it doesn't. You just eat later at night when you finally appetite kicks in, and then you overeat often, and you end up, gaining weight. And even what you do eat, you're not able to digest, and it just becomes more fatty. Just like if the engine, say your engine of your car or a motorcycle or lawnmower, it wasn't running well, but it was not running good. It was, not running smooth. It's just going to suck up the fuel and not have much power. And once you tune it up, boom, boom, it's running really good. It's got the power again. It's got the ability to do its job. Plus, it's not using up as much fuel. So the engine that's not running good doesn't go very fast. So you would think it's not using up much fuel because it's not going fast, but it's actually using up a lot of fuel because the engine isn't running good. Same for the human. Your digestion's not running good, even you're not eating much, you can gain weight. Okay. So, and of course, there should be some activity. The best time for activity is after you eat. So, just going to the gym, kicking your butt in the morning, and then you're coming back, you're starving from the gym. You could actually overeat. Or, you go at night and then you come home hungry from the gym, and then you end up having your fourth meal or something because, obviously exercising can build up an appetite. Um, do it before dinner, so I was already a little hungry. Then I'd go, exercise, go run around the block, lift some weights, and that would, make me even more hungry for dinner. But I was going to eat anyway. Uh, but the best is to do a little exercise after you eat. Like, say you have that dinner, then go for a walk. Say you have that big lunch, go for a walk. You have a breakfast, go for a little walk. You can Most of my patients, are either who are trying to lose weight, particularly those who are obese, over 50 pounds overweight. They're not really capable of running when you're too overweight. There could be knee problems or knee inflammation, or it's just too difficult for a very overweight person to start really working out hard. So I just tell them to walk, and many of them, that's all they needed was a change of diet, the increased digestion, stimulated liver, lower blood sugar, the herbs, and just walking twice a day for even just 15 minutes, and they're losing, I've patients with testimonials lost more than 100 pounds with this approach with the herbs. Now, many people do say, hey, I was taking the herbs, following the diet, the 2 meals a day with the beans, no animal protein, and taking the herbs, and I was losing like 9, 10 pounds a month. But when the herbs ran out, I was only losing 3 or 4 pounds a month. So the herbs accelerate the weight loss. If you're not capable of losing some weight with a change of diet and removing these causes that we talked about earlier, like snacking or too much animal protein, poor liver function, high blood sugar, we got to eliminate these first. But once they're gone, you know, then you should be, even without any herbs, you should be losing, 3, 4, or 5 pounds a month. But then once you take the weight loss herbs on top of it, all which are all available on herbmanteas.com, the weight loss, Ayurvedic weight loss herbs, then it just increases the weight loss. It just makes the whole process faster. Instead of 5 pounds a month, you're losing 10 pounds a month. And there's also weight loss tea, which gives you energy, takes away your appetite, stimulates, and helps lower your blood sugar because, blood sugar fluctuations create appetite. When you eat a sweet and you feel good for a little while from that coffee or that buzz from the sugar, and then you come down from that, you want to have more coffee, more sugar, and get back up again if it's still during your working time. So you have these ups and downs of your blood sugar, and that creates cravings. So all the blood sugar herbs are stabilizing, your blood sugar to some degree. Of course, if the numbers are very high, you may have to take additional herbs specifically for your blood sugar. Even the weight loss tea has Gemina sylvestre and other blood sugar stabilizing herbs. And there's also appetite controlling herbs. We have another product called Appetite Control Tea on Herbman Teas that also helps to reduce your appetite, help you avoid snacking between meals if you don't have the discipline. So that was the only last thing I'm going to mention as a cause of weight gain that you don't think about, and probably a major cause. Once you hear it, you're going to think, yeah, that makes sense for sure. And this is what I see in private practice because, this is not a theory here. I'm dealing with people trying to lose weight all the time, and I wouldn't be in practice if I wasn't very successful. And like I mentioned, I do get all the tough cases of people who tried the easy things first. But the one major cause I think of weight gain is lack of discipline. It's almost impossible to help somebody without discipline because they have to change. You're going to have to change what you're doing in your life. If you can't stop eating donuts, you don't have the discipline to stop eating these donuts and cookies or even buying them. It's going to be hard to have the discipline to start taking the herbs and other things. So it takes discipline. And the good news is, though, if you don't feel you have the discipline, you're doing a lot of emotional eating, there are herbs like weight control tea that can help you if the discipline isn't 100%. But many people after a few months say they don't need the tea anymore because they've got the discipline. So the good thing about undertaking a project like this of reducing your diet, taking herbs, and changing some of your lifestyle habits is you're going to build discipline just doing it. You'll have to have discipline to achieve these goals. And that's, of course, why, many people do regular appointments with me for my motivational talk, or as we affectionately call it, my kick in the butt, to get the people back on the wagon, back on the diet, back on the herbs, and back out on the racetrack again. And that means a lot to a lot of people. And if you don't have this discipline, then, that's part of my job to at least motivate you and give you things to do like self-talk and reminders and goals. And, so that's, I think, part of my job as, helping people with weight loss. A lot of times I find is helping them, motivate them, and helping them build the self-discipline, stay in control to not start all of these unhealthy habits that led to the weight gain in the first place. So lack of discipline, unhealthy eating habits, unhealthy lifestyle habits. This is the real underlying cause because, everybody knows the donut's not healthy. We all know that the cookies and the ice cream are not healthy and they're weight gaining. So the only difference between the person eating them and not eating them isn't really knowledge. It's the discipline. And of course, we can create these things are very addictive, just like drugs and other things are addictive. And once you start, it only gets more hard to stop. So it's good to have the discipline early on in life and never get addicted to these addictive substances, including fast food, junk food, sugary food, soda pop, coffee. There's plenty of chocolate. There's plenty of addictive substances out there, not alone cookies, candies, and croissants. and other sweet desserts can be definitely addictive, but it's the sugar. So you need that self-discipline to say no and not be eating the ice cream just because somebody's giving it to you, not eating the lamb chop just because you're at a barbecue, not drinking the sugary beer just because the other person's drinking it. You have to have discipline. Okay, well, I hope that helped you out. I hope it helped you identify some underlining causes to your weight gain and focus on those first before really worry about going to the gym. Um, and probably most of my patients who lost even 100 pounds never went to the gym. And I think that's why gyms stay in business because the people they have to keep going to keep the weight off because they're not removing these underlying causes. Like I mentioned, snacking, too much protein, which is the obvious one we see in gyms, liver issues, blood sugar issues, napping, constipation, and, snacking, grazing, low discipline. These are all underlining causes that you should focus on first. Okay. Well, I hope that helped you on your weight loss journey and help give you some inspiration that you can do it. And you don't have to restrict your diet and be starving all the time. And you don't have to knock yourself out in the gym if you get rid of these causes. And of course, you take some herbs, which make it easier. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that helped you understand the causes of weight gain that you may not have thought of before. Thank you.